Okay. Everyone knows it's being live streamed. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the October meeting. Hopefully we'll be back in the chambers before the end of the year, but it's hard to imagine we'll be back there in November somehow, the way things are shaping up. But anyway, hope everyone's well. And we've got a full council here, so there's no apologies this morning. So are there any disclosures of members' interest? Marcus, sorry.
The item about the liquor licensing, tab, which one is it?
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, whichever one it is.
Yeah, thanks, Marcus. Anyone else? Okay, well, we'll note that, Marcus, when we get to that point. Okay, are there any late items that anyone wishes to raise? No late items. So confirmation of the order of the meeting, item 4. I haven't heard anybody wants to change the order, so can I have a mover and seconder? Moved Philip, seconded Roger. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary, carried. Item 5, councillors' updates on attendances, if there are any. I'll keep an eye out for the hands up, but Bruce.
I'll rip into your worship. ComSafe, we had a Zoom meeting earlier, or whenever it was. Time flies, doesn't it, when you're doing nothing? But we're very grateful for the discretionary grants we received from the Prongi Award and Te Amutu Community Board. Much appreciated. Our community patrols have been severely affected by COVID. About half the kilometres travelled in September for this year than the previous 2020 September. But double admin due to the level changes. When we get to the appropriate level, we'll be beginning these patrols again. The CCTV training we did 12.5 hours, and the CCTV monitoring 32 hours. So there's quite a few hours of voluntary labour there. There are 25 active patrollers, and only one of those is unvaccinated. And currently there are 21 CCTV members monitoring those cameras with a potential of up to 36, which the more we have, the easier the workload. And while I've got to just a bit off track a bit, but I'd like to thank staff personally. And Gary, could you pass that on? The queries that I've had have been answered by staff, I know, in difficult conditions. And one of them, I actually replied to him that you're a legend, because I got back to one of the ratepayers, and I just really appreciative of where they seem to get the information from. And if you could pass that on. So that's me. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. Anyone else's comments? Phil?
Yep, thank you, Jim. Just a couple of things, obviously all online. Louise Upston held a Three Waters Forum last week with a couple other councils in her electorate, in the Taupo electorate. Then there was the Mayor's Chamber breakfast last week, which Liz stood in for you, and it was Max Baxter, the Oklahoma Mayor, was there, and Waitomo Mayor was there too. So obviously there's a lot going on in Oklahoma at the moment. And then just the Cambridge Safer Community Trust meeting last week, and we just discussed around the CCTV a little bit there too. So, but that's just those 3 meetings. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Anyone else? Liz? You're on mute still, Liz.
Thank you. Sorry, Jim. Yeah, just a couple of little things. So along with a lot of other councillors attended the Kiki Community Open Day, which was, I guess, a new initiative was put together mostly by Mandy, I think, from ComSafe and Kiki. So that was really good to attend. Also, as Philip alluded to, there was a forum, the it was a business forum, essentially a breakfast where we could talk about Three Waters, talk about local government reform and any other sort of issues in our district. So I thought it was really helpful, and I think there were close to 100 people online listening to it. So I'd like to think that, yeah, that might continue in the future. For the rest of the month, yeah, mostly just, I guess, dealing with the COVID outbreak that we've had in our own district. This could have happened to any other provincial town, I think, but what it did do, of course, was give us a bit of a platform to encourage our residents to get vaccinated. So I think it's been quite widespread, as already alluded, One News, Jim, this weekend, but also we've had quite good coverage, Radio New Zealand, News Talk ZB, Waikato Times, obviously our local Cambridge and Te Awamutu papers as well. So hopefully we're getting a really clear message out there around around the vaccination and how we should all move towards that. Thanks to Andrew and Lou for the video. I'm dragging you out on the weekend. Again, just a pro-vaccination message. And also to Hazel and Marcus. In fact, I've had lots of comments actually about Hazel, you in particular, about bringing the emotion a little bit into the reality of living day to day from residents. But yeah, thanks to everyone. Whether we continue with the videos, I think it would be a good conversation to have today at some point. A lot of people have been talking to me about our connected, how we might connect with our community. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. Susan and then Roger.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Hey, it seems like it's a long time ago, but anyway, I attended along with Lou, actually, the Urban Miners Collection Day in Te Awamutu. I see, looking at my calendar, it actually was since our last meeting. So it was a wildly successful collection. They passed something like just over $3,000 worth of transactions through, which I believe was a record. So that was obviously the Urban Miners Collection Day in TA, really well supported. Like Liz, I attended the Kihi Community Connect Day, and obviously it was a bit limited due to the alert levels, but it was, from all accounts, a success, and really neat to see all those active community groups in that area there that day. And Lou also organised the Te Awamutu Sports Three Waters public meeting, which I attended together with a handful of other councillors and people from the community. It was supported and led by Barbara Kuriga, Chris Luxon and Scott Simpson. Really interesting discussion with them, not just on Three Waters, but also looking at local government reform, particularly in the RMA space. So well worthwhile going to, and unfortunately, I guess the alert levels changes have meant that perhaps more of those meetings haven't been able to be held since then. Te Awamutu Community Board meeting recently, motion was put and passed requesting that the Te Arawai car park actually be known as the Arawata Street car park until such stage that it becomes the Te Arawai car park. And there was also a really exciting presentation put by Gina and Brad about the skate park proposals in terms of design and collation of information around that. Really neat to see some of our decisions that we made at the LTP level some months ago start coming to fruition in terms of planning. And also, just following on from what Liz said, attended Te Awamutu Kihi Community Leaders Wellbeing group meeting, which Liz has sort of the brainchild of Liz to try and pull together people that might want to take steps or be involved in that space as a result of the COVID incursion. So yeah, despite the fact that we've all been under lockdown, I seem to have been doing a lot. So anyway, thanks very much.
Thanks, Susan. Roger and then Mike, I think it was.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Your Worship. Yes, Mike and Andre arranged a Three Waters public meeting, which unfortunately had to be cancelled. But subsequently, there was the online meeting with Louise and Chris that was across 3 electorates. And it was interesting. I was asked directly what the position of council was by one of the local residents that was attending, and it was good that I was able to outline what our case was on the Three Waters, which I think contributed to the discussion. But it was a shame that we had to cancel our own 3 waters. I know that Elwyn and Mike had put a lot of work into that, so that was a shame. So that's me. I think a lot of frustration within the community, a lot of the organisations that I'm a member of cancelling all of their meetings, obviously left, right and centre. So that's a shame. Good, thank you.
Thanks, Roger. And Mike.
Yeah, good morning, Jim and councillors. Just another cancellation, really. The Christmas parade over here, they've decided to cancel that, but instead of just sort of saying nothing's going to happen, the people on the committee are sort of trying to put their heads together of what we can actually do for Christmas, whether it be some mini floats and you video it and you send it in like shoebox type floats, whether we resurrect and really try and fire up the Christmas lights commercially and residentially, and just try and bring a bit of joy to the community and a little bit of focus. So we'll just see what happens in that space. Thank you.
Yeah, could I just come in there,
Roger?
Regarding the Christmas parade, my perception was, and Philip might talk on this, I thought that we'd deferred the decision for a week until we find out exactly what's happening. And there is a chance that it may still go ahead if by some chance we're down to level 2.
Yeah, Phil?
Yeah, thank you. Just to respond to that, no, the committee has this weekend, end of last week, decided to cancel the Christmas parade. We've all been quite realistic that it's very unlikely that we'll be at level 1 or maybe into the traffic light recovery, but we're going to be really limited on numbers and or limited on the amount of numbers that we can have there. So but like Mike just said, we are looking at a whole heap of other options just to try and keep the Christmas spirit alive and well in town, and looking at other options and things like that with our businesses, and perhaps having Santa on, having him online, having him on call, just booked in. So if we can do a last minute thing at a smaller scale, then we'll look at that too. But we're looking at a whole heap of options. But basically, we've canned the Christmas parade on the 5th of December as it has been in the past. So we're just realistic. We just don't believe we can run it as it was before. So yeah. So thank you.
Thanks, Philip. I think this is an issue with a huge amount of events, and Liz will be feeling it out at the lake. It's they take so much organising and lead-in time that you've really got to make the call fairly early. So, look, really sorry that we can't have those types of events leading up to Christmas. It's going to be challenging enough without actually almost cancelling Christmas, isn't it? So. Yeah, fingers crossed we get those vaccination rates up so that we can at least get back into some semblance of order. Lou.
Thank you. Through you, your Mayor. We had a quiet meeting with the Armistice Day organising committee, and we're just getting things together. Unfortunately, we're running into the same problem everybody is. It's the 11th, of course, of November. And at this point in time, we're probably looking at postponing that to the 14th, which is the Sunday, so that we will have it on that Sunday if we possibly can. However, with the levels of restrictions and that, we're going to leave that for another week before we make the decision whether we actually fully cancel or not and just have a much shorter, abbreviated operation.
Yeah, thanks, Lou. Okay, everybody has spoken that wishes to. All right, hey, look, from me, I've been laid low again, unfortunately, for a week or so in the middle of the month. But look, a huge thank you for everyone for stepping up and right in this really critical stage when we've got COVID. Probably COVID central at the moment, at least in the Waikato. Look, we've got huge challenges in front of us to get that vaccination rates up across the country. So anything or any bright ideas people have got to try and encourage the the 13 or 14% of the unvaccinated, the better. If we can do anything from a council to assist in those areas, it's obviously going to help get back to a reasonable, I suppose, position over the Christmas and summer holidays, which is a good target to have, but it's really challenging at the moment. And I really can't see us shifting out of the lockdown position that we're in through November, the way things are shaping up. So it's going to be touch and go, really, what happens over that Christmas period. So yeah, if there's anything we can think of, I'll come to you, Claire. We really need to turn our mind to anything that we can do to assist the Ministry of Health to up those vaccination levels. Looking at the testing in Te Awamutu, a steady, I was going to say, flow or trickle through. Obviously, over the weekend there was not so many people moving around, but people are getting out there and getting tested. There's obviously concern in the community, so let's get that vaccination rates going. Claire.
Yeah, well, Jim, I just wanted to respond to that because one, we had Liz and Andrew and Lou doing that video on the weekend, which is great, and also I understand Gary was going to respond to Roger's work on the numbers for Waipa and what we might be able to do. And is there any sort of liaison point with the DHB or the Ministry of Health so that we could work more closely with our closer communities? You know, like I'm aware that Pirongia and like Te Pahu could improve their performance, but I thought Gary was going to bring something to us for a bit of a discussion.
Gary, did you want to comment on that?
Well, there were some email exchanges over the weekend following the release of data on Friday that the team who's looking at the COVID response and the communications will be meeting this week and come back, but we've not met yet, Claire.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because I mean, I was thinking about what could be done, like in the rural areas, because I mean, I'm of the position that I don't want to force people to be vaccinated, but I do want to support those that would otherwise get vaccinated, but for some reason it's difficult for them, or they've still got some questions or whatever, and to support them. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Claire. Well, Gary will get back to us once he's pulled that meeting together. Liz, were you just wanting to comment there?
Yes, I was just going to say that this week, just to address some of the concerns around rural people getting vaccinated. So this week we have two pop-up sites. We've got the Marae at Te Kaupua has got a vaccination centre, and also Ohaupo at the Ohaupo Sport and Recreation Centre. So both of those things are happening, and I know that our comms team will be marketing them as well. But here's an opportunity maybe for us to use those centres again to just spread the word. But you know, we could do something, a video at those centres as well with some rural people, and yeah, just getting the message out.
Oh, you were just on that, Liz. Like, I haven't been told about those particular pop-up centres. Now, I have received 2 emails with only an image in them from Whaiatia, but I don't know if I didn't open those because that sort of put up, a red flag to me for cybersecurity. I would have thought there would have been text in it rather than simply an image. So if that was the information, I just think that they need to be sent in a way that people will be happy to open them.
Yeah, so Claire, this is an iwi initiative, and I've had contact just through Maniapoto Trust Board. I did see the first confirmation I had was last night on the Waikato District Health Board Facebook page. So I forwarded that through to Hannah, and hopefully she'll get that out to everyone on our council Facebook page as well.
Oh, okay, so we as councillors, we're not getting updates from like the comms team anymore for things that are relevant for Waipa. So is that right? So that if I want to be putting the message out, I've actually got to go and check the Ministry of Health's website or Facebook page myself.
So Claire, as as council receives the information from the DHB, we will get that to you. But essentially, it's the DHB and the Ministry of Health's crisis, which they're managing. But as we get the information, we will push that through to you.
Okay, thanks.
Graham.
Yeah, Jim. Yeah, one of the most powerful messages I think we could do at the moment, and we've had a little bit of a glimpse, but it's not continuous in the updates, is 97% of the people in our hospitals are unvaccinated, and only 3% are in the hospital that have been vaccinated. To me, that's a powerful message that would be good for the public to see the impact of not having the vaccination and the hospitals getting overloaded. And I don't know why they haven't continued that, but to me, I thought that would be really, really good to make that message quite succinct.
Yeah, well, it certainly is I agree, a powerful message for the community to go out and get vaccinated. But it's really difficult when you're talking to the media, even pushing the vaccination, those sorts of figures. If it doesn't fit with the story that they're doing at the time, then it just basically gets cut.
Wow.
So it's a challenge to try and get those really succinct messages out there.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
Gary.
So the key issue is to show leadership, and we have the platforms for the videos, the likes of which Liz has been arranging. But so if anyone wishes to talk to staff, to look at any sort of promotion that you think we can push, we're really happy to consider those. But using your own social media platforms is also very useful, but also we can use the council platform as well. Critically, it's about the leadership message, get vaccinated.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, can I just, through Jim, can I just add to that? We've obviously, there was a lot of work done around Super Saturday, and I don't know if anybody's thought much beyond that, but obviously 3 weeks from then we need to try and be encouraging those people to return who were first time shooters last time. And I kind of think that we might need a bit of a run up to try and create that not enthusiasm, but that desire or commitment to actually come for a second jab. I think we're kind of all focused on just getting jabbed, but I think we have to be quite clear about the fact that once people have had their first vaccination, we have to actually carry them through with it to actually complete. And I'm wondering if there's any work being done at either at a DHB level or in our comms team as to how we might craft a campaign, for want of a better word, around that, because it's hard to get people there for the first time. I think it's actually going to be harder for the second. So I was actually talking with Mandy Merson from ComSafe yesterday, and she had some quite good ideas in this space about ComSafe kind of taking a role and helping along with other community groups, leading some kind of activity in that space to encourage people, enthuse people, not make it all doom and gloom, but try and make it something that's worthwhile them doing. So yeah, perhaps that's something that we can talk a bit more about offline, but I think it's something that we need to turn our minds to.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. I agree. And look, it looks like there is a follow-up being promoted in Auckland at Eden Park, I think, exactly the same, a month out from the Super Saturday, to try and encourage people to come and get that second shot. So if we need to be pushing that, then that's something we should be looking at, because if you've only got half the job done, then you're not going to get that protection that's necessary, that's for sure. So Hazel.
Yes, Jim. Look, I really want to make an observation here, is that what's standing out for me is the number of people that haven't got technology. And a lot of the stuff that's being said is said, and this is the website and this is what you do and what you do. They can't do it. And because there is a huge proportion of people out there who don't have it. And sometimes, and I think Claire's a bit right that a fair few sit out there in our community as well. So I think that alongside all of this, and I've even dropped a note off to the Minister of Health to say, you've also got to remember the people who haven't got, like, okay, I think we have to make more use of TV and things like that, but and I think that and I know that there's actually quite a proportion of people, because from our little splurge on the other day, and also being around, people who know just ring me up and say, but what do we do? And I find out that they haven't been able to access a lot of that information. And I say, well, isn't it in the newspaper? Because a bit like them, I only get the Courier and the Te Awamutu News, because we haven't been out and about to get the newspapers. But so I think that people have to look a bit further and just remember that there are a hell of a lot of people out there who haven't got technology. And it's no good relying, saying, oh, but their kids have. Well, their kids are certainly not looking up to see what you do about it. So, yeah, so I just have to say that, because I'm a little weary, because I spend a lot of time, not weary, but I spend a lot of time on the phone answering people's questions, or if I know where there's a problem, I ring them and we try and sort it out. So I've had to keep up with all the data myself, and I do that by listening to the releases each day that Jacinda and my boyfriend make. Yeah. So thanks, Jim. It sounds a bit negative, but look, that's a fact.
Yep. Thanks, Hazel. Bruce.
Thank you, Jim. Susan there, I'd just like to back her up, and if it's appropriate, use ComSafe's database. I think there's 3,000 contacts in that. Mostly, I would think a proportion will be rural to get any information out. And Mandy would be only too happy to write whatever was said if even Comms contacted her. So I think it's a contact base, and they're all people agreeable to get that communication. Then they tell other people, all their neighbours, whatever. So yeah, just use that if you want to.
Yeah, she's super excited to be involved in lots of great ideas. So I think she's a resource there that we need to use and utilise her thinking, I think.
Thanks, Susan. Okay. All right, if there's nothing further, we'll move on. And it's item 6 now, confirmation of the minutes of the 28th of September, 6.1. So just moving through those minutes. Just going through on just as usual, if there's any alterations or corrections, but can I just have a mover and seconder to receive those first?
I'll move that way.
Lou and Graham second. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. So just moving through those minutes. Page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 and 8. So there's no alterations or matters arising from those. So Roger's moved, it's a true and correct record. And a seconder, Andrew. All those in favour?
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. And the next one is the confirmation of the minutes of the special meeting of the 5th of October. Can I have a mover and seconder to receive that? It's a very short meeting. Claire and Bruce. All those in favour?
Aye.
Contrary? With no discussion on those minutes. Everyone happy? It's a true and correct record. So can I have a mover and second that it's true and correct record?
I'll move that way.
Lou and Philip, all those in favour?
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. And then we're on to item 8, documents signed under council seal. It's just warrants. Gary, was there anything?
Just one warrant sealed, Your Worship, for a plan under the Resource Management.
So can I have a mover and seconder for that? Philip and Claire. All those in favour?
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. And item 9, amendment to council meeting dates for November and December this year. Gary, who's handling this? Anyone?
Thank you, Worship. So Joe will handle this. We've just had a fresh look at the meeting timetable and believe we've come up with something that might work a little bit better for everyone. So Joe, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to take my report as read this morning. It's really just to make some adjustments to the meeting schedule to make best use of our time over December, and also to make some adjustments just to cater for adjustments in the timescale for the annual report. So just a few meeting changes there. If everyone's happy with those or got any questions.
Okay, do those meeting changes cause anybody any grief? I think it's practical. Andrew?
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. No, they seem quite sensible to me, and I'm more than happy to move the recommendation.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Andrew's moved. Claire, I see you nodding. Are you seconding?
Yeah, happy to do that.
Okay, so was there any discussion? Everyone's comfortable with that? Okay, I've got a mover and seconder. All those in favour?
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. Thank you for that. Item 10, representation review.
So, Your Worship, yes, this is another one for Joe to present. Your Worship, we're at the end of the process, and it's time now for us to make a decision and advertise that and see whether there are any appeals. But Joe, if you could just highlight the main points in your report and perhaps look at the process from here.
Thank you, Gary. So you'll remember on the 12th, excuse me, sorry, accidentally muted. 12th of October, we had the hearings and deliberations where you passed a recommendation to direct staff to prepare the final proposal, which is the final step in the process for us in terms of decision making based on our initial proposal. So you've got in front of you in the recommendation the final proposal there listed out based on that recommendation. So from here, in terms of when you adopt the final proposal, we'll put an advert in the newspaper next week. On Thursday, there's then a period of at least a month where anyone that made a submission on the proposal can put in an appeal. So that period will close on the 6th of December. And then if we get any appeals during that time, we'll send those off to the local government commission, and then they will take over considering those appeals and making any other determinations on our representation arrangements. So that should be all finalised before Christmas in terms of knowing whether we've got appeals and what's happening with that. Does anyone have any questions on the process?
Bruce?
Joe, just those people that may appeal, they've got to have a submission in the first case. No one else can come in, can they?
Yeah, no,
right?
because what we did you decided that your final proposal was going to look like your initial proposal. So that means that there's no grounds for objections now. If your proposal was different, there'd be, that's giving the opportunity for people that to make a submission on any kind of changed recommendations that you included, but because we went for the same, then it's just the appeals. We will be writing to all the submitters to let them know that the final proposal has been adopted and the process from here. So those letters will go out, so people will be aware of the next steps in the process if they do want to lodge an appeal.
So when you put it in the paper, do you stipulate that to make it clear to the public?
Yeah, there will be things. It will be covered in the paper. Yeah, there's some standard wording that we need to include in the paper.
No, thank you.
Okay, Joe, thank you for that. Was there any other comments? I think we've probably discussed this well and truly coming up to this decision. So if not, we've got a recommendation. I think it's A through to D.
And I'll second it.
Mike and Lou, all those in favour?
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. Thank you for that. We're now on to the item 11, draft Kihi development plan adoption.
Thank you, Your Worship. So Justine Kennedy is no longer with us, but Kirsty is here to present this plan to you, which has been updated following the latest round of community feedback. So over to you, Kirsty. Thanks.
Through you, Your Worship, tēnā koutou katoa. So as Gary mentioned, this report was prepared by Justine before she took up her role at Hamilton City Council. You'll recall that this draft UDP was presented to the Strategic Planning and Policy Committee at its meeting on the 5th of October, and the committee resolved to recommend to this council meeting adoption of the plan. As Gary mentioned, we've gone through several cycles of community engagement with mana whenua and iwi also. We have workshopped this with you and obviously presented it for feedback at the Strategic Planning and Policy Committee meeting. So I'm taking the report as read if that's suitable for you. I'm happy to respond to any questions.
Thanks, Kirsty.
Well,
Yes, Hazel.
I'm certainly very happy to move that it be accepted, and thank Kirsty and her staff for all the work that they've put into it. A very much awaited document, and let's get on with it.
Thanks, Hazel. Were there any other comments that anyone had? Okay. All right, I've got a mover with Hazel. Can I have someone second the motion, A and B? Marcus? If there's no other further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. Thank you for that. We're now on to item 12, walking access to the Manga Northern Enclosure. Gary.
Thank you, Worship. So this is a matter for John Miles. You'll be aware that we've been trying to reopen the walking access from Hicks Road to the Northern Enclosure at Manga for some time now. And this is probably the last step in the process where we're looking to create an easement under the provisions of the Walking Access Act, which requires some delegations to be made to me. We hope then to have all of these documents lodged with the Maori Land Court prior to Christmas and get the walking track open this summer. Thank you. John.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's just a formality that Council is prepared to be the controlling authority under the Act. And as Gary says, yeah, we've got a couple of documents and affidavits that we're preparing at the moment to go to the Maori Land Court. I'm hoping, hope that Hinorangi will allow us to open the track prior to the registration of the documents. So we're working on that at the moment, and that's looking reasonably favourable at the moment. So fingers crossed, we'll get it open and operational in the next couple of weeks.
Thanks, John. Thanks for all your effort. It's really important to get that access open. It's been a long, drawn-out process. So, yeah. Were there any comments, Graham?
Yeah, morning, John. In terms of opening that up and what you've got, are there any annual payments or leases required for any of that land going up there, or is it all just tickety-boo in terms of usage?
No, we, as part of the MEIT, there were allocation of EBL, so
yeah,
the EBLs were the compensation for that.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions to John? All right, can I have a mover and seconder for A through to C? Oh, sorry, got Graham and Elwyn. Sorry, Lou, have moved and seconded. All those in favour?
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. Thank you for that. Thanks, John. And now a resolution to exclude the public. Can I have a mover and seconder? Bruce and Andrew. All those in favour?
Aye.